Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Tuesdays with TFE, our weekly yacht racing news and views show live from the Beach Street Yacht Club here in San Francisco's beautiful Marina District. And Julia, it is a beautiful day, is it not? It is indeed. I think it's going to hit 80 degrees, isn't it, today? It's nice. Well, up where you were in Calistoga. Welcome to another weekly show. We got a full show for you. Lots going on. It's the summer now, so there's a lot of activity, and let's get on with it. Of course, this past weekend, before we get going, we want to commemorate our American Memorial Day. This photo I ran on my personal Facebook page yesterday was very popular indeed. On this Memorial Day in the USA, the morning after, or the now afternoon after, this, of course, the 12-meter Columbia, which was the first 12 to win the America's Cup in the 12-meter era. It's starting, you know what year, Julia? 1958.
Oh, the 12s. Yeah.
The 12s, the year of the 12s. That's Clingstone, the famous house in Narragansett Bay, the East Passage, between Newport and Jamestown, which featured prominently in the Volvo departure videos when they had the start a couple weeks ago. Well, not even a couple weeks ago, 7, 8, 9 days ago. The Newport Bridge, of course, to the north, that's Columbia. Briggs Cunningham was the skipper in 1958. They won 4-0 in the first America's Cup of the 12-meter era. Today, we are reminded that Thanksgiving in the USA is the day we give thanks for everything we have, and Memorial Day is the day when we pause to give thanks to the people who fought for the things that we have. And we want to get into it. We'll do a quick week in review, and we'll talk about Brunel's win. They won early this morning, leg 9, finishing in Cardiff, Wales. And close. They only won by 4 minutes and 5 seconds over AXO Nobel. We'll talk about that, show you some videos, and then we'll talk about the Super Series, the first regatta of the TP52 circuit in the Med, the top professional circuit in the world today, and more. We've got some other interesting news as we get into it. The summer, at least here in North America, in the Northern Hemisphere, we want to recognize some great articles on Sailing Illustrated this week. We're up to, I think, almost 1,020 articles. And Team Brunel, as we said, we'll cover that in a moment, but they edged AXO Nobel. We had almost as breaking news. And a great video we'll play for you in what a record-breaking run looks like from Sam Greenfield's drone. In 30-plus knots away, launched in 30 knots of breeze. If you haven't seen it, there's a guest editorial, guest editorial by Gus Miller, the dean, really, the denizen of the Finn class, one of the most respected sailors in the world. At age 83, he was the oldest sailor in the Finn World Masters Championship in Spain last week. He's pictured here with Gerardo Seeliger, longtime president of the class, and another senior serious guy, great guy in the sport, not just in the Finn class. But read Gus's editorial if you have not already on the website. It has been acclaimed far and wide, and we posted that on Sunday. Also last week, Sir Ben Ainsley's youth team, which sailed in this GC32 World Championship at Lake Garda that we'll be covering, his new team, his youth team, is also rebranded as the Ineos Rebels. Ineos, of course, is Sir Ben's new owner, Mr. Jim Ratcliffe in the UK. And also we posted Jeff Waller's world-exclusive interview with Sun Hung Kai Scallywag's skipper. We did that last Monday and talked about it briefly on the show. But if you haven't had a chance to look at some of the very succinct, direct comments that David Witt made, go have a look on the website at that video interview. Okay, this is a video. It's dark because it's finishing. It's Team Brunel finishing in the dark early this morning off Cardiff, and I think you'll find this the reception that they get, that each of the teams gets at these stopovers, is magnificent. And there is some sound with this. At least I thought there was sound. There we go. That was us waiting for the sound on the video. Veteran Bouwe Becking. This is one of two Dutch teams. And I think this is 8th, is it not? His 8th Volvo Ocean race. And he's come good. He's within 3 points of the lead now, having finished first, second, and then first in the last 3 legs. Beating Axo Nobel by only, as I said, 4 minutes, 5 seconds. This is the other Dutch team, Simeon Tienpont. And I got to give them credit for their PR. Axo Nobel, they had that struggle, contractual and otherwise, just before the start of the race. And they have come good with their PR. They're sending out lots of good videos, clips and interviews and so on, as they finished second in this, frankly, epic match race across the North Atlantic, trading the lead as they came into Cardiff several times. And this is Dockside. Okay, well, Axo Nobel second, and they broke the record. 602 nautical miles Axo Nobel did. That was a record-breaking run.
24 hours.
In 24 hours. Thanks, Julie. Okay, well, there's the obligatory champagne spray, which I guess Formula One started. I don't know. Okay, enough of all this. You seen enough of this, Julia?
Yeah.
Okay, move on. Move on. Congrats, Bravo Zulu. Congratulations to Team Brunel. And now let's look at this video that was shot by Sam Greenfield. We ran this on the website, and I think I ran it on the website, maybe my Facebook page, but this is from the drone that they launched on their boat in 30-plus knots of breeze. Sam, of course, the OBR, onboard reporter. And he says this is launching and recovering, well, not recovering, but launching this drone is the easy part of the job, and running it. It's you know what it's like now. Most of you probably run a drone, or at least seen somebody running it. But the recovery is particularly interesting as they fly it back and they watch as they get video from on board the boat. What fantastic conditions. And this is a couple, 3 days ago now, when they, both Brunel and Axo Nobel, I think, broke the Volvo 24-hour record, both for the VOR 70s and the VOR 65s, the newer edition of those boats. 600 nautical miles in a day. The most fun part, though, is this drone recovery.
Catch it.
They caught it. Okay, so here are the standings as of now. Team Brunel is leading after winning. Well, this is the leg 9 results. Team Brunel won, of course, and then Axo Nobel second, Dongfang third, Dongfang race team. The ostensible American entry, Charlie Enright's Vestas 11th hour, finishing fourth. Mapfre, who has been and was leading the series, has fallen to second place, finished fifth. TTOP has now finished. This was as of earlier, before I went to air. They were sixth. And Sun Hung Kai Scallywag, way back. I don't know if they finished by now or not. If you go over to the Volvo Ocean Racing website and check the race tracker, you can see that. So the overall standings, Dongfeng now leading with 60 points. Mapfre a point behind. Team Brunel on 57 points. Have closed right up. Akzo Nobel really out of the running in fourth now with only 2 legs to go. Vestas in fifth. Sun Hung Kai Scallywag in sixth, and TTOP they're at the bottom of the pack in seventh. So it'll be interesting. The next 2 legs, the next one is to Göteborg, Gothenburg in Sweden. And that starts in, I guess, a week's time. And then from Gothenburg, they will go finish in Den Haag, or as you might call it, The Hague. At least Anglos would. The Hague in the Netherlands. Okay, let's pause for the cause there. Any comments or questions, Julia, we need to pay attention to?
Jay Henfield has a long quote from his home club, Barrington.
Barrington Yacht Club.
Mm-hmm.
Great club, that one. What's he say? You can read it off to us.
Hello from Barrington Yacht Club, my home club that is home to the Reed brothers, Lars Gook, world champion, Katie McDowell, Olympic 420 sailors, and countless Newport to Bermuda race winners. So this club, like so many others, is the lifeblood of the sport.
Yeah, that's Barrington Yacht Club. We used to race sunfish there, and it is truly one of the cool clubs. It's on Narragansett Bay, on the east side of Narragansett Bay, up north of Newport, between Newport and Providence, and a terrific club. Thanks for that, Jay Hanfield. As we move forward to our next topic here, and that is the Finn World Masters Championship. We talked about it last week. It was mid-regatta, and recognized that they had a bunch of boats, a huge turnout, 350 boats. But the winner was crowned on, let's see, Friday or Saturday, and that is José Luis Doreste from Spain, from the famous Doreste family. I think they're from, they're out in the islands, aren't they? I think the Dorestes are. Somebody will give us a comment, but I'm pretty sure they're out from the islands in the Atlantic west of Spain. And José Luis he's my age, 60-something. He was the gold medalist in the 1988 Olympics in the Finn class in Busan in Korea. And he bested 350 competitors in El Belice in España. And anyone who thinks the Finn class is not going strong is crazy. And why you take a class that is so widespread, there are so many boats, the boats are robust and last, okay, they're more expensive than a laser or, other boats, smaller boats, single-handed boats, but they last several campaigns. They're all over the place, and it's where the heroes go sail. The Ben Ainsleys, the Russell Coutts, they're both John Bertrand, who won the America's Cup in 1983 for the Australians. All graduates, all alumni of the Finn class, as is Senor Doreste, 1988 gold medalist, as we mentioned, at Busan in Korea. Honorable mention also to Gerardo Seeliger, longtime president of the class, a Spaniard, longtime member of the World Sailing various committees, and a good friend. He, by the way, Julia, has just ridden a BMW motorbike around the world.
No kidding.
No kidding. And, you had to hop off in certain places. And he's now about to drive an electric car around the world to see if he can get from place to place without, all the obvious stuff.
Around the world in how many days?
I don't know, but not 88.
No.
Maybe you'll do it in 88. Who knows? Gerardo Seeliger, cool guy, good friend of His Majesty King Juan Carlos. In fact, that's how I got to be such good friends with His Majesty, because Gerardo introduced us and we carried on. Speaking of the Med and Europe, the 52 Super Series took place. The first regatta of 5 took place in Croatia. So, I don't know how you pronounce that. Šibenik, Croatia. We need Norbert Byron, our Commodore of the Golden Gate Yacht Club, who is a Croatian native. But the first regatta took place there this weekend, and let's have a look at the official video.
Welcome to the big finale then. Quantum Racing go onto the water here in Croatia on the final day with a nice lead. A battle for second and third between Sled and Platoon, and a great day in prospect.
The place could not be nicer than this. We are extremely happy to have brought the whole fleet over here. And this year we have 2 venues here in Croatia. It's here Šibenik, and then in a month's time it's in Zadar.
It's a big history in Croatian sailing, and this is like a top of the tops to bring this event to Croatia, and we all love it. All the sailors that I know came to see this, and it's amazing.
Well, the Sled team have bolstered the crew with a bunch of Kiwis who know each other really well, who've sailed together very, very often, and I wonder whether that's making the difference.
There's a few guys, as I've said, from Team New Zealand, but we've got guys like Robbie Naismith, who's been around since Adam was a cowboy as well, so it's a bit of a geriatric group, really.
Well, there has been tension all the way through this week, from the very first day when Platoon and Quantum Racing stamped their early season form, then through the coastal race when Sled ran away. There's been lots of different boats of all different calibers, amateur team and Paprec winning races. It's been an incredible week so far. It took some time for the sea breeze to fill in. There was a long delay, and in the end we had about 6 knots of breeze on the start line, pretty spotty and patchy, and the pressure really was on to deliver a race. But on the start line, Sled's challenge for second place came unstuck. They fouled Paprec and had to take a penalty and dip back, and were late across the start line. But Platoon, Quantum Racing and Phoenix all started well. Meantime, Platoon escaped up the right hand side to lead at the top mark, with Phoenix in second, Allegri third. Quantum Racing went round in 4th place after a nice solid conservative first beat. Sled went round way down deep in the 9th place. That's the way it stays for the top 3 or top 2 round the course. Platoon getting away down to the finish line to win, with Phoenix across in 3rd. Luna Rossa getting their best result of the week in 3rd, and unfortunately a little battle between Quantum Racing and Azura on the finish line. Azura pipped them, and that gives Azura 4th place overall, just beating Onda. And that 7th for Quantum Racing is enough to give them the first regatta title of the season.
We're really, really happy to have come away with a 3rd, as good as we hoped. We thought if we could get on the podium, that would have been a fantastic result. We've achieved that, and Mr. Kura is really happy with how the team's all gelling together, and that's really important for us at the beginning of the season.
For us, it's a really good result. It's an open book for us because we started with a Frolic boat, and all the other good teams with boating boats. You never know in advance which boat is faster, but right now, after 2 events sailing in Palma and here, I would say the boats are more or less even.
We've always been really fortunate to have really great sailors on the boat, but the new energy is really, really good. You know, it's an absolute positive influence to the performance of the boat.
So the final standings: Quantum Racing on 29 points, Platoon on 34 points, and Sled on 41. So we've had such a wonderful week here in Croatia for the first time. Quantum Racing winning the first title of the season, and it's only 23 days until Zadar, and as they say in Croatia, bok. See you then.
Nice video, eh, Julia?
Yeah.
And how you had the pronunciation when during that video?
Šibenik, I think he said.
Šibenik, okay. So there you have it. We reprise the standings here. Quantum has won the first regatta of the year. And interesting, Terry Hutchinson and Dean Barker are both listed on the boom. Platoon, the German boat, is, and its owner-driver, I think Mr. Muller-Spreer, I believe, is driving that boat. Sled is third, Zura fourth, and Anda fifth, the Brazilian entry. And then Luna Rosa sixth, and that's Patrizio Bertelli. That's their America's Cup team, Julia, training. What do you think of that? Jimmy Spithill.
Wow.
So they've got their full entry going. And that is a wild-looking boat. It's the same livery. It's the same paint job that they've had now for, 2 years, 3 years. The Quantum Racing boat. It probably gives vertigo. It's got to be a bit off-putting to the other teams. But as I said, note that the Barker and Hutchinson are now both listed on the boom. Barker, of course, is the helm and is the helm presumptive for New York Yacht Club's America's Cup team, having been hired by Terry Hutchinson. T. Hutch is the executive director, skipper of the New York Yacht Club team, and Terry there in the leggings, the white leggings, and sitting two forward of him, driving obviously, is Dean Barker. As we mentioned, sailing Luna Rosa is Jimmy Spithill, the helm presumptive, or skipper presumptive, I guess, although he probably won't be listed as skipper. That will probably be Luna Rosa's sailing director. But Jimmy will be helming, or at least he's been hired to helm Luna Rosa in the next Cup, and their team is training on their TP52 in the Super Series. Congratulations. Again, we listed them for our Bravo Zulu last week, and I want to give this guy some credit because we've been skeptical. I have anyway, and that is the chief of USA's Olympic sailing program, Malcolm Page. He spoke, Julie, as you know, at St. Francis, a week ago Wednesday. Gave a good talk, gave a good long talk, showed a couple videos, both of which were superb. And we showed one last week, and I thought we'd show the other for you this week. So enjoy.
I'm a big believer that you still have to conquer yourself. You can't end up on top of the podium unless you have full control of your mental state and you've pushed yourself to your limits physically. I think it's really beautiful part of the sport that we can go to a place, and whether it takes a day or years, we learn that wind and that water so closely.
An athlete who recognizes the sport that fits with them emotionally and physically. For me, that's sailing.
This utmost respect for the playing field on which we compete is what makes sailing so incredible.
Every sailor's had that moment where they're just totally in sync. I call it flow state.
Sailing has that element of adventure and independence because you're gliding over the water. You have control of where you're going.
There's so many things that are out of your control that you need to sort of be comfortable, not knowing, guessing, trying to anticipate, and being wrong a lot of the time.
Growing as a person, I've become more confident and aware each day of this is how I operate.
To recognize those times when you're in the flow, those times when you're out of the flow. And we see that all throughout our lives.
All of the experiences that force you to learn more about yourself and face your own shortcomings and deal with them. The only constant is change in life or on the water.
I think we need to get U.S. Sailing's audio levels. The music is a little too strong for some of the sound. But I thought it was a great video. And apropos this camel, let me stop here while we have this camel on the screen. We're going to talk about, guess what? The Olympic decision by World Sailing, but say hello to everybody. Hi, Ted Ryman, who's in Cape Town still. You were there last week. Hi, Ted. Welcome to you. And the aforementioned Jay Hanfield. Tasha Harley from the D.C. area. Doug West, Staff Commodore Doug West, the esteemed past Commodore of Balboa Yacht Club down in Newport Beach. Greetings from the Vineyard. Nice to have you back with us, Commodore West. Paul Homchick, that's nuts. I don't know if he's talking about us, Julia.
Probably.
Probably. Or, Julia, I don't. Give us your queenly wave again now that he says we're nuts, and then we'll prove it. Don Lunabos up in Sonoma. Greg Newman, bois. Okay. Father Newman. This is the series they should be using for the warm-up to the Cup. I assume you mean the TP52, the Super Series. Jay. Wayne Schreck is back in Park City after being in Michigan. Wayne, one of our big backers via Patreon. Thank you for your support, Wayne, of Sailing Illustrated. David Irvine, Clancy Solway, welcome to you. David Irvine, G'day from Brisbane, Australia, home of the 2028. Did you mean 2028 or 2018, David? The Etchells Worlds in Brisbane, in, of course, Australia. The Volvo video. Paul Homchick says the Volvo video is nuts, meaning that that Team Brunel with it is. It's, they're in 30 knots, and they're going something approaching that, high 20s, I guess. Good stuff. Cool video. Cool drone flying by Sam Greenfield to get that video. Okay. I feel a little bit like President Trump here, reprising this Olympic topic, but there is so much commentary around the world about this camel of a decision taken at the World Sailing Mid-Year Meeting 2 weekends ago now in London. This is a picture from that meeting, and I sat at that table for a long time back in the 90s and early aughts. I know what it's like. I know how the politics work. Third from the left there at the head table is Gary Jobson, the U.S. Vice President, and esteemed, long-time senior serious contributor to the sport. And I hear Gary's a little under the weather, and he's had a bout of pneumonia. Hope he's doing well. Best wishes to you, Gary, if you're watching or listening. The World Sailing Mid-Year Meeting in London, where the president, Kim Andersen of Denmark, who's the leader of the band, but one gets the feeling like the power behind the throne is the CEO, or what we used to call Secretary General, or in this country, Executive Director, but the Chief of Staff, Andy Hunt from Great Britain. And together they had, as I said, this camel of a decision about the Paris 2024 Olympic events. Now, that's not for Tokyo coming up in 2020, but from 6 years from now. And when they retained the first 5 classes, essentially as they are now, or have been, the laser radial, although that equipment, as we've said in previous shows, is going to be revisited. We hear new rigs for the lasers at a minimum. The 49er has been retained, the men's skiff and the women's skiff, 49er FX for the women. And the two-person multi-hull, the NACRA 17, which was a displacement catamaran in 2016 in Rio, is now a foiling catamaran. There have been a lot of problems. Hopefully they'll get those sorted out for 2020. And then this strange combination of events below. The windsurfer is the only other class besides the 49er which has a men's and a women's division. And arguably, the single-handed, the laser and the laser radial are the same. There's a separate men's and women's division. So you got those 3 disciplines, shall we say, that have separate men's and women's. The other, including the NACRA, are either a mixed 1 female, 1 male, which is the case of the NACRA, and also the case in the, what is this new 2-person dinghy. That will be 1 male and 1 female. But then these other 2 events are just simply bizarre. The new event, mixed 1-person dinghy, where there will be a man on 1 piece of equipment and a female on another piece of equipment, and they will add their scores together. or maybe even be a relay race. But I gather that what the intention is to have two separate races, one for the men, one for the women. Or they might race around the same racetrack together and score them separately. But somehow they're going to add the scores together, and it is being widely panned. Not just by me, not just by the former president, Paul Henderson, but all around the world, because this is simply a format that is not practiced in the sport. And it's frankly off-putting to many people. You take this, for instance, the kites, and we know they're not happy about this. The kites now have the same setup. There's going to be a mixed kite event, that's the bottom line there, where there's a male and a female sailing on some kind of new kite equipment, probably a slalom like that race we showed you last week in last week's show. And they're going to add their scores together. So if you're the top female kiter in a country that has no male kiters to speak of, or no good male kiters, how are you, will you even do a campaign? Will you bother doing a campaign, Julie? I mean, it's bizarre. And it's not just your commentator, it's not just me who thinks it's weird. It's a lot of people, including former World Sailing President Paul Henderson, who has been an outspoken critic of this current administration. And that's not his style. It's his style to be outspoken, but to take on this administration, he doesn't do this for the fun of it or for the sport of it. He is really concerned and really upset, as am I and a lot of other people, because of the implications for the sport, for the Olympics, and for sailors everywhere. Paul has made a list that he circulated this past weekend to a few people and said, look at what's happened in the last 8 years. And he says it's really disconcerting. Olympic sailing has been cut back from 11 events to 10. Keelboats have been deleted from the games. And it was the star class especially that were the heroes, the big names of the sport. And again, nobody outside of sailing really cares about the equipment. They care about the names. They care about the stars. The number of Olympic sailors has been eroded from 410 to 350. World Sailing completely ignores one of their key regulations that we've always followed up until now. It inserts untested equipment and formats that are conceptual, have never been tried into the Olympics. We've had 3 new CEOs in, I think 4 years is probably wrong. I think it's 5 years, but you get the idea. World Sailing seems to care nothing about anything else except disciplinary actions and the Olympics and this world circuit that they've trying to do. Speaking of the World Cup, it is extremely expensive, and it's undermined all the traditional regatta weeks, Cork and Hyères, although that was part of it this year. But these various regatta weeks, which have been so successful and so important to the sport at the grassroots level, and the continental championships of classes and the Olympics like the Pan Am Games, or the Olympic classes. And it goes on and on. IOC, politics, and basically it looks to a lot of us like World Sailing is just kind of rolling over and doing what they think the IOC wants rather than going back to the IOC, because the IOC has said, you do your own thing. This keeps coming back to us. And and on and on. What can we do about it? You can talk to your clubs, and your clubs can talk to your national authorities and insist that the sailors and the clubs and the classes retake control of the sport and not have a dozen people at the top of World Sailing dictate to the rest of the sport. It used to be a bottom-up, a ground-up grassroots organization, a service organization for classes, clubs, sailors, member national authorities. It was when I was involved, and that's the way, Julia, you've been involved in National Voluntary and other organizations, and it never works when it suddenly turns top down and starts dictating to people.
Especially when they're not sailors.
Especially when the CEO, as you say, is not even a bloody sailor. Okay, and it appears to all of us like the executive staff is controlling the place, not the board. But, okay, it is time for the sailors to take back their sport. As Paul Henderson says, I call this, with this title, The Gospel According to Paul. because Pope Paul, because he has often been called the Pope of sailing, as was Lowell North, as is Lowell North. And it's not just Paul and myself and a few others. It's widely, this whole operation at World Sailing, to say nothing of them being financially in deep doo-doo. But Richard Gladwell, as we pointed out last week, has been writing long and incisive, great pieces, and he has pointed out in a very credible article about how this plan will actually decrease or further decrease the number of member national authorities that will participate in the Olympics. And that's the thing, the so-called universality that the IOC is after. More countries, more women, more people from all corners of the world. And this is not going to help, in the humble of opinion of a lot of us. Not so humble. Including Bob Fisher, who has just written a scathing piece, which I've seen an advanced copy of, that will be airing in one of the top magazines, yachting magazines in the world in the next few days. Okay, enough of all that. I feel a little bit like, as I said, like President Trump saying he's not going to tweet about the media anymore. And then, of course, this morning, I don't know if it was before or after Roseanne got flicked and her show got canceled for that incredibly stupid comment she made. Whether or not you agree with her is another issue. But Mr. Trump, President Trump, can't seem to help himself. And indeed, I can't and I won't. I'm not going to keep banging on this drum because I feel so strongly that the Olympics is important to the sport, to all of us, even though there's maybe, 200 people in this country, in the U.S., that care about it or participate in it. But it should be much bigger and better than that. And it's important, I think, for the sport. Okay, on to good news. Bravo Zulu to this group in the GC32, which has had their first World Championship, and it was in Lake Garda. And they had a good turnout. They combined the Extreme Sailing Series boats with the GC32 circuit. And Ernesto Bertarelli was the top. He didn't win the Worlds. We'll come to that in a moment. But he did indeed finish as the top owner-driver. I think he was, 4th or 5th overall. But if you've ever been to Lake Garda, you know what a fantastic, Julie, you've been there.
It's great.
Just beautiful. And they have the northerly breeze in the morning and the southerly breeze in the afternoon. And the transition can be interesting there. But they're sailing it at Trentino, I think, in the middle. Trentino, I guess it is, in the middle of the lake, I believe. But congrats to Team Tilt. This is also a Swiss team. And in the same year that they finished second overall in the GC32 Tour in 2016, Sebastian competed in the Rio 2016 games in the 49er class, I believe. And then last year he skippered the Swiss team in the Red Bull Youth America's Cup. I don't think they won, but they did sail well. And his Team Tilt has returned to the GC32 here and won the first ever World Championship. Now notice the gentleman to the far left. You know who that is? That is Glenn Ashby. So this is Schneider's first ever world title, but it's far from the case for a tactician main sheet trimmer Glenn Ashby, who, of course, is the winning skipper of Emirates Team New Zealand in last year's America's Cup, and for whom this is his 17th world title.
Wow. And
his first in a crew larger than 2. He's always won in the Tornado or in the other small catamarans. The America's Cup is a world title, obviously, but he has previously been a part of Team Tilt. So congrats to these guys. Team Tilt from Switzerland, or at least based in Switzerland, the young and conquering world champs, first ever world champs of the GC32 class. Take a look at this beautiful video. gorgeous stuff.
Gorgeous lake.
Huh?
Gorgeous lake.
Nice stuff. I wish they would do more focus. Again, we have this eye candy, these beauty shots, which is great, but they don't even have to interview the guys. It's just, the most popular picture I think we've put up in the last week was that picture of Gerardo and Gus Miller at the Finn World Masters, and people like to see faces of people who are stars in the sport or just cool people in the sport. I don't know why we don't do more of that, including on these videos. And that's, as you see, that's what we try to do here in our presentations, our Sailing Illustrated posts, and also our shows. People, that's what people want to know about. They want to know about heroes in the sport. They don't really care about how fast the boat goes or what kind of class it is. Yeah, some people do. We all like the technology. We like some of the more interesting arcane items. David Irvine, looking at the comments now, says, whoops, fat fingers on a keyboard. 2018 Etchells Worlds in Brisbane. Hello, Marguerite Ponifis. Marguerite Ponifis, an esteemed race officer, great longtime friend. I haven't seen or heard. Her mother was also terrific, Julie. You love Marguerite, but you love her mother, her late mother. And they ran the Royal Dutch Sailing Federation, or Yacht Club in Medemblik between the two of them. And Marguerite probably still does, up in Medemblik in northern Netherlands. On the IJsselmeer, Andy Laboon checking in again from Jupiter, Florida. Hello, Andy. Phil Keister, hi, Tom, checking in from New York City this week. Normally, I think, in San Diego. Rick Hayes, late in, but we'll listen to what I missed later. Thank you to both of you. Wayne Schreck, great video, no bicycles. Oh, I know, he meaning no cyclors like the Kiwis, Okay, I get it. That makes sense, Wayne. Thanks for that. Okay, another Bravo Zulu. This to another winner from the weekend. As I said, it's a busy season now. It's the summer, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, has, no pun intended, heated up. But the College of Charleston has won the second of the three major college spring championships, the ISCA Team Championships, hosted by the ODU, Old Dominion University. And as one of their members of the team, senior Stefano Pecciera, said, I'm extremely proud of how we have managed to stay fresh and keep our level up over the 3 long, hot days of, I guess it was Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Maybe it was over Sunday, I'm not sure which. But Charleston captured its 3rd team race title in program history. They won last year, and they've won again. They topped Roger Williams and Hobart and William Smith Colleges. It was Monday was the final day because the Cougars entered in first place with an 18-4 record and cruised down to a 20-5 record. I actually watched it live online, and it's nice to see, as we've done down with the Governor's Cup, it's nice to see people taking the initiative, and especially the college kids, of putting their events, live streaming them.
Great.
And no doubt they will be live streaming the Fowl Trophy, which is the kind of the premier championship, which starts today or tomorrow and goes this week. Also hosted by ODU. So ODU, Old Dominion University. Congratulations to the College of Charleston, to Christoph Killian, who was one of their sailors, Christoph from Balboa Yacht Club, Augie Dale, Grace McCarthy, Katie Lounsbury, Elizabeth Pemberton crowing, Annabelle Carrington, Carter Cameron of Mount Pleasant, down near Charleston, and Oliver Parsons served as alternates. The College of Charleston's team racing champions, 2nd year in a row for ISCA, the Intercollegiate Sailing. Is it ISCA or ICSA? I may have gotten that wrong on the title. Okay. Anything else? Any comments, Julia? Should we press on here?
I think you can go on.
Okay. In other sailing news, the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron will be celebrating their 150th, their sesquicentennial, in 2021, concurrent with their hosting of the America's Cup. It should be a lot of fun down there. I hope you're making your plans to go down I still think what's going to be a terrific event. I've thought all along, but I'm even more confident now. from as we see the preparations and the money. And there's rumors of a couple other teams, a Norwegian team, a second Italian team, this American team we've talked about, which is not a rumor. They're working hard to raise the money. We'll see if they do. Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron is one of only 7 Royal Yacht Squadrons in the world. They will celebrate an illustrious history spanning 150 years in 2021. This coincides, as we said, with their hosting of the America's Cup, the 36th Defense, AC 36. Full year of events on the water and off, and it should be a lot of fun and a nice coincidence, don't you think, Julia?
Yeah, or if it is a coincidence.
Well, yeah, it is a coincidence that they're also hosting the Cup in the same year, so great. Okay. I think that will be good fun in New Zealand. The oldest trophy in sport. I think it's due for a new, down there at the base, at the bottom. I think that's all fully engraved now. It was about to be when we had it, when Golden Gate had it. Remember? We were looking at that. So let's see if that cup actually gets taller, as it has, because as you all know, it originally started, that was the height in 1858, and the winners of every, not just match, but every race within every match are engraved on the trophy. That was added in 58, and that was added by the Kiwis, I think, in 95. We, Golden Gate Yacht Club, added the carbon base. I'm glad to see the Kiwis have left that. I think it's pretty classy looking. Speaking of New Zealand, Julia, you passed this news on to me this morning. I thought we'd add this. And I posted this on my personal Facebook page, that China, with such a huge trade partner with both Australia and New Zealand, but is New Zealand's leftist government cozying up to the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, so much that the Kiwis can no longer be trusted with Western intel. At least that was the subject of that article below in Business Insider today. China's Communist Party has so much power in New Zealand that Western countries might stop sharing intelligence. Yeah. Of course, the Kiwis would probably say, if you think you're giving us intelligence, we don't. In any event,
it's a long article.
It is a long article, and it was a bit troubling, in fact, for maybe the Western Alliance, but we'll let Richard Gladwell bring us up. I hope, Richard, you're watching and you'll cover that for us. Okay, tomorrow we will once again be at St. Francis Yacht Club live streaming their Wednesday yachting luncheon, WYL. Julie and I take our equipment over every Wednesday, and at 12:30 Pacific we go live with the day's topic. It goes for an hour and 15 minutes or so. 12:30 Pacific, 15:30 Eastern. Tomorrow's topic is topical. It's quite interesting. It's Janis Couvreux, author, travel adventure addict, and mom and a grandmother. Apparently she's written a book, several, but this is her latest, called Sail Cowabunga, A Family's 10 Years at Sea. And it includes one of her 2 young sons whom we know, Sean, who is, nickname is Doogie. And he's done at least one, maybe 3 or 4 America's Cups by now. And a good sailor, a guy that I don't know really well, but I do know him. As many of you watching will probably know Doogie Couvreux, whose mother, Janis Couvreux, the author of Sail Cowabunga, will be talking tomorrow at St. Francis Yacht Club about her new book. One of those 2 tykes, I guess, is Sean, is Doogie. He probably loves having his mother's book around with him in his Speedo at age whatever he was. Tomorrow, Wednesday Yachting Lunch, it'll be live. And, of course, if you can't catch it live, just like these shows, they are archived on the St. Francis Yacht Club Facebook page. And as we always say, you only have to Google, forget about this long URL, but if you just Google St. Francis Facebook, up pops the search returns on the top line. That URL, click on it, and away you go. Same for us. If you just Google Sailing Illustrated Facebook, you don't have to remember our URL. Up it pops, top line, and you can watch our show or look at the previous shows. A shout out to our longtime friend Ron Holland, whose book we featured here on the show. We've had Ron on the show some months ago. He spoke also at St. Francis recently. He was at New York Yacht Club last Thursday night for a club night with his new book, All the Oceans, his memoir, subtitle of which is Designing by the Seat of My Pants. And Ron is one of the great, if not the greatest living designer in the world, and a terrific guy, and a good book. Julie, you've got a copy of it.
I do.
You've read through it, right?
I haven't read the whole thing, but his has great stories.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that's about it for us, unless there's any other pressing comments or questions. We'll take a quick pause here and look at the screens. Julie, you see anything? Don Lunabos, Rob Clay, Richard Gladwell. Which would you... Okay, I knew we'd get a rise out of Richard with that. Richard, thank you for chiming in. Which would you believe, Chinese intelligence or Western intelligence? Both are oxymorons. How about Kiwi intelligence, Richard? Anyway, maybe we'll get Richard to write an article. We should get him back on the show.
Yeah.
Bernie Wilson wants to come. Everybody wants to come on the show, and we will in due course. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us. That wraps up another Tuesdays with TFE. And our coordinating producer, thank you, Julia. Our 87th live show. I was this morning, Julie, looking through some of our shows from a year ago, which were, frankly, pretty good considering the technology that we had and how little we knew. Of course, that's what people are probably saying. Look at these turkeys now.
I know.
Well, we've come a long way in a year. And we thank you all for joining us for yet another of our Tuesdays with TFE. We'll be back same time, same channel next week. And in the meantime, sail fast, sail safe.
And have fun.
And have fun.